even after all these years, 20 years of, doing ultra marathons and 27 being consistent with, running in the mountains and whatnot, I still feel like there's so much more to learn. So, yeah.
What have been some of those key, if you look like high level, what have been some of your key learnings over the years that have made a big impact on you?
So I think the biggest thing was learning that, I, in the early days, and many runners run too many runs at too fast of a pace too often. And that was one thing that I did is, back then, I probably ran every single run medium to hard. I probably didn't do very much easy anything. And, I've learned that the majority of your training should be easy. It should be like ridiculously easy. And then you include that harder training in there at the right time, and kind of avoid that middle zone where you're not, doing the high intensity that gets you to, improve a lot, and not doing that low intensity to help you, recover and improve at that low intensity. Because in the ultras, you really do need to keep your intensity low from the very, very beginning, because it's only going to get harder as you go up. And that was the big learning thing for me. Hydration's another thing. Getting enough hydration and figuring out the fueling. I'm still trying to figure out the fueling thing, what works optimally, what kind of foods work, and so on. But that's been a big thing. Is for ultras, you kind of do have to take in calories. You can't. I mean, there's some people that don't need it, or they that guy that ran 100 miles on 0 calories.
I saw that.
Mind.
That was mind blowing.
He did 18 hours, and
yeah.
To me, that's amazing. But those are some of the things that I've taken from this. The biggest things that I've learned. Obviously, there's been a lot of small things, like figuring out, because I do a lot of really hilly terrain, and you don't really need to run that hilly terrain very hard, and you don't need to run every step to be pretty quick at it. As a matter of fact, you can train yourself to do a lot of the power hiking faster than what you would jog. And at a much lower intensity, a lot easier on the body. So
yeah,
that's basically, some of the things I've learned.
Like, do you have any suggestions or recommendations for people getting into trail running or ultra running?
Yeah, I mean, if you already run, it's just be prepared to slow down a little bit. You're not going to run as fast on the trails. Trails undulate, they go up and down. You're not going to run the same paces. You have to watch out for rocks. You have to be, with running on the roads, you can basically look straight ahead and kind of tune out. But on the trails, you have to be a bit more mindful of where you're stepping. Otherwise you're going to face plant, which is never fun. But get out there and have no fear and explore and just put on your shoes and go. Really, it's not I mean, I could give all sorts of tips on, how to run downhill, how to run uphill, that stuff that you kind of learn along the way. But, just if you're a road runner wanting to become a trail runner, just get out there and do it. It seems kind of simple, but it really is no more than that. And basically you learn as you go. In the beginning, you're going to be slow and you're going to be awkward and you're probably going to fall a few times. You definitely learn how to fall. Had some pretty spectacular falls.
Yeah, and I'm part of that club too.
And you learn how not to put your hands out, in front of you so that you don't break your hands. You learn how to run with the bottles in your hand and let your bottles do the work for you. And then you learn the art of the combat roll, which is always nice if you have the ability to do that on the trail. But yeah, I just, my advice would be just get out there and do it and have fun and enjoy the experience. And don't worry about pace, because on the trails, you're going to run slower. It's, more variety of terrain, and just enjoy wherever you're at. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love, I used to always run on road, and that was I didn't really think much about trail running. Purely, I don't know, I'd never really looked at that area much. And then once I started exploring a few of the trails, one thing that helped for me too is I signed up with a local running crew. And I just joined them. On Saturdays, we would go for a group run together. And it wasn't a big group, but it was just kind of a consistent time to meet up sometimes with a few other people who had a bit more experience. And from there on, like you said, just going out there and doing it, and you'll learn so much along the way that way.
Yep. It has a learning curve. And then after several years, you find my knees don't hurt, my feet feel good. And you get stronger in different ways because it's a lot of twisting and turning, and you use different muscles to stop yourself. You learn how to run downhill more efficiently, uphill more efficiently. And I think it makes you a better road runner. I think it makes you a stronger road runner and helps you avoid injury, because road running is very repetitive, the same motion, whereas trail running is constantly changing. So when you adapt to that and then go back to the roads, I think you're a much stronger athlete and you have less of a chance of developing injury. Plus, it helps you ward off injury because the ground is softer. It absorbs more of the impact. So